everybody. Thank you so much for coming, and yeah, happy World Book Day. I know a lot of people on Book Day dress up as characters from books, and I thought, I'm not going to dress up today. I'm just going to appear in my normal clothes. And then I realised I am dressing up as a character in the book, because the book behind me is about myself. So I am in fancy dress today. But thank you for coming. This is my first online book launch. And to be honest, I was a little bit unsure about how it would all go. I normally do them in person. And one of the things that I'm really sorry I can't do tonight is make you a cup of tea. I love to make people cups of tea, but I can't do that. But a good thing is that more people can be here. I don't know if you saw pop up in the chat box just now, but somebody typed, I woke up. And that is my Auntie Julia in Australia. So hi, Auntie Julia. It's really nice that she can come. She normally wouldn't be able to come to my launches, but she can zoom in from Australia. And there are people from America, Spain, Albania, and it's really nice to be able to bring us all together. In fact, in Australia, if the youngest member of my family wakes her mum and dad up, she will be watching too. So hi Leila, just in case you are watching. But thank you everyone who's here, wherever you are in the world. Because although it says Emma, don't be fooled, it's not only me, others. So in a minute I will introduce you to them. But first of all, I'd like to introduce you to my team. And what I should have probably done to ask most of you to do is bring a mirror, because to introduce you to my team, most of you I need to say, look in a mirror, because you're all in my team. For so many years, you have supported me and prayed for me and walked with me practically so many different ways. You know how much you have carried me along. And it's really special for me tonight to be able to actually say thank you to each one of you in person. So yeah, thank you very, very much. Not just for tonight, but for lots and lots and lots of days that you have supported me. But I think it'd be a good idea to make a little confession to you all now. And that is that you are in this book. Don't panic, not my name, that you are in this book. And I'm going to read out the little bit that's got you in it, so you know what's coming if you do decide to read the book yourself. So this is when I first discovered that I had a medical condition. I was diagnosed with an illness. I was just lying in bed, not able to do anything. And so this is what it says in the book. As I bit into a sandwich, Mum said that she'd been thinking. I thought, oh no, I don't think I'm going to like this. She said she'd been thinking that we need to ask other people to pray for us. Okay. Then she said she was going to send out emails telling people what was going on with me, exactly what was going on, so that they could pray. I stopped chewing my sandwich. No way was I letting that happen. As if I want people knowing about my life. Also, this stuff will soon be over. The doctor said I'll only be in hospital for 10 days. After the operation, then I am going back to college and normal life. So I said no. But Mum said yes. And in the end, I agreed. It won't be for long anyway, will it? Now, it won't be for long are probably some of the most ironic things I have ever thought. It has been for a good few years. And I was also wrong about not wanting people to support me, because I'm so thankful for all the support that I do receive. So thank you. And I hope that if nothing else, this book might encourage people that it's okay to have support from our friends and family. So I'm just about to introduce the book team now. As I said, the book does have a team. So hopefully Charlie, who's a whiz at technology, is going to highlight them so that you can see who's in the team. So first of all, Donna, who you've already met. Is she going to be spotlighted? Yeah. So Donna, Donna's introduced herself really, so she's made my job very easy, but Donna is great. She's sort of, I suppose, a bit of the boss, a bit in charge, but she's lovely, really, really nice, and a pleasure to work with. So thank you, Donna. And then it's Rachel. Can't spot that, Rachel. Yeah, so hi, Rachel. Now, Rachel is she's the one that does the marketing. So if you ever see me in a magazine, or I don't know, on the radio, or hear me on the radio, that will be because of Rachel. And I really need Rachel's because I am rubbish at marketing, really, really rubbish. So thank you, Rachel, for chipping me along and helping me out. And the next one we have is Becky. Can you spot that, Becky? Yeah, hi, Becky. Becky has probably read this book more times than most people because Becky edits it with me and she reads it and she reads it and she reads it and encourages me at the same time, which is incredible. Because I begin to get really fed up and think that the book is rubbish, I'm so bored with it. And Becky would just send a little message saying, come on, let's keep going, we're nearly there. So thank you for encouraging me, Becky. That's really, really helpful to me. And we also have Charlie. Can you spot that yourself, Charlie? Yeah, who's Charlie, who does the technology. Again, I cannot do technology for the life of me. So Charlie receives lots of emails from me saying, how do I do Facebook? How do I do Twitter? How do I do this, that, and the other? So thank you, Charlie. You saved my skin many times. And then we have Sheila as well. So Sheila edits the books too, but she edits them before Becky. So theoretically, when Becky gets to read them, they're vaguely polished. When Sheila gets them, they are very, very unpolished, let's say. So Sheila has to try and get them into shape. And she's lovely. And again, she sends me encouraging little notes. When I receive the manuscript back, and it nearly always has a smiley face somewhere. So thank you, Sheila, for your encouragement. And I cannot talk about my team without mentioning my mum. So can we spotlight my mum? So yeah, hi Mum. And my mum is normally, well always, my first reader. So when I've written the book and it is very, very rough around the edges, my mum is the first one to have a read of it and give me a bit of feedback. And you might think that because she's my mum, all she ever says is, oh Emily, it's wonderful. Well, she doesn't. Sometimes she says, you need to get rid of that bit, it's rubbish. And she's always right. I have to admit, she's always right. So thank you, Mum, for all your support. And also with this particular book, some children in my team, some of whom you will be meeting later, but I'll just name them. So there are the Duffy family, there's Eleanor, there's Lydia, Joshua, Joel, Darcy. So thank you all for reading the book and again, feeding back. But that's basically the teams. So now over to my diary. Now, people have said to me, why write it? Why write this book? And it's a good question because a lot of you have read my memoir, which is this, Still Emily, published with Malcolm Down and Sarah Grace, who are here. So hi, Malcolm and Sarah. That this story, no surprise to anyone, is the same essential story as in my diary because I only have one story. And a good question is why write it? Why write my story for children? And to be honest, I hesitated. I wasn't sure about writing because I didn't know whether I wanted children, particularly children in my life, to know about some of the difficult things I have been through. But then they began to ask me questions. And I thought, yeah, they can cope. They do want to know the reality. So this is to hopefully encourage children, big and small children, that even in struggles, we can find hope. I was doing an interview recently on the radio, and at the beginning, my heart sank, as it very often does in interviews, because there is a question that is nearly always asked at the beginning. And that question is, so tell us about yourself. And when somebody says, tell me about yourself, my mind goes blank. I can't think of a single thing about me, let alone anything vaguely interesting. So it's a difficult question. And I thought tonight, I'm not putting myself through it. So instead, I've got some of the children that I mentioned to tell you a bit about me. So children, can you please, via video, tell people a little bit about me? Thank you.
From what I remember, when
Okay, thank you. It was back on. I don't know if there was any sound on that video. I'm not sure. But if there wasn't, I guess perhaps it gave you a bit of a titles. Sorry, there was meant to be sound, but anyway, you will have seen what the children said. So thank you, children. But I think it's important to answer children's questions. So what I'm going to do now is actually answer those questions that the children asked. But I'll do so with the book as well. So the first question was from Eleanor, which was, what was it like being told you had NF2? Do you want to just play that video, Charlie? Or should we leave the videos?
Let me play this one.
Okay.
Okay.
What would you like to ask Auntie Emily? What was it like being told that you had NF2 when you were a teenager?
That's it. Just so everyone knows, when Eleanor said NF2, that is the name of my medical condition. So that's what NF2 means. But thank you, Eleanor. That's a great question. What was it like? It was scary and it was a shock. And I felt as though the whole world had turned upside down. The carpet had been pulled out from under me. I didn't see it coming in a million years. I'm just going to read a bit from the book which might answer your question. So this is the doctor talking to me. We need to operate. We'll remove one tumour first, and as you know, when we have done so, you will be deaf. It was as though the chair started spinning. I couldn't focus on the doctor anymore. I couldn't focus on anything except one word: deaf. I'm going to be deaf. What was he talking about? I'm not cut out to be deaf. What about all my music? I managed to focus back on him, and I heard him say, it's possible that operation will cause damage to your facial nerve. What? Deaf and unable to smile. How am I even sitting here? This is not my life. So that was how it happened. That was how I felt when I was told. But I wonder what you, well, Eleanor, but all of us, perhaps Eleanor and I can talk about this when we can eventually meet up. But I wonder what you'd feel is worse: to be told you're going to lose your hearing, or to be told that your face is going to be damaged. Now that's actually a question that I mentioned at the end of the book, because at the end of the book there are questions to help children think through some of the issues in the book. But I actually said face was worse. I could remember saying to the doctor, don't take my hearing. I'm sorry, do take my hearing, but save my face. Because image is so important these days, isn't it? Particularly to younger people, there's so much pressure to fit in, to not be different, to look the same. And hopefully the book addresses the fact that you can be different and still happy. But as I said, a lot of the time, I really didn't know how I felt. I just felt numb. And I'm going to tell you something that helped me work through some of those feelings. In a minute, I'm going to introduce a friend of mine. But before I do, I'm just going to read about her from the book. It says, I saw a psychiatrist today. Dr. Margaret is deaf. She lost her hearing, but not because of NF2. So she's deaf with a little d. She grew up hearing. I saw her because people say that one day I will be deaf, but I don't think I will be, not deep inside, even though at the same time I'm scared that I will be. That doesn't make sense, does it? It's just that I am not a deaf person and I cannot imagine being one. The reason I agreed to see Dr. Margaret is because she's deaf. Back when Dr. Dentist Chair first told me I would be deaf, Mum asked him what support I would have, and that's why I saw Dr. Margaret. She's really nice. It's just me and her, and we talk. And I can ask her what it's like being deaf. I only ask in an interested way. It won't happen to me, but I can still be interested. She's easy to talk to, and we have lots of laughs. It's nice to know that when people go deaf, they can still be happy and have a life. She's not got NF2 though. I'm going to keep seeing Dr. Margaret every week. I'm going to introduce you to her in a minute. But seeing this week is quite funny because I did keep seeing her every week for a good few years, and then we lost contact. But then we met up again and we became friends. So actually, she sees me a lot more than just for the spell of time she was seeing me as a patient, because I'm still in her life. But I'm really glad I am, because she's here today and she's agreed to talk to you. So thank you, Margaret.
Ha! I think, can you hear me? Yes? Brilliant, brilliant. Well, this is, I mean, I've got such a soft spot for Emily. I can't tell you, I love her. I was asked to see her, I can't remember, I think probably by some proper doctor, you know, surgeon-y sort of ENT sort of person. And we went along and we just met. And this was before she'd lost her hearing. I think perhaps you'd had your first operation, Emily, I don't know, but you were facing becoming completely deaf when you had the operation on the second ear. Now, I've got something completely different. I've got, long word, cochlear otosclerosis. Most people who have otosclerosis means their middle ear bones get a bit whatever, but my inner ear was actually boned over. So I've actually got no hearing at all. But if I put this fridge magnet on my head, a cochlear implant, I can hear with lip reading, and I'm using the subtitles now. So I went deaf slowly. I didn't know I was going to end up completely deaf because I didn't get a diagnosis till quite late on. But going deaf slowly meant I had time to adapt and, well, I accept it probably is the wrong word, but deal with it, live with it. And this is who I am. I'm not as musical as Emily had been and has been, and music, some people with my sort of gadget, with sort of fridge magnet, they can get music. Sadly, I can't, and it's painful for me. So God knows what it's like for Emily. But there's music inside us. There's always music inside us. The thing about being deaf is if you're not careful, you're on your own all the time. And Emily's learnt to sign, I learnt to sign for my work. And the time we sort of lost touch with each other is when I was in Ireland for 15 years. But Emily came to see me there, which was wonderful. So we've never really lost touch. The message is that you're more than your ears, you're yourself. And when something happens like that, you draw on strengths in yourself and you draw in strengths from other people. And the hardest things comes not from yourself, but from other people, in that you can be ignored. You know, well, I think we didn't go into the negative side of it. It's quite a big one. But there's a positive side. We can manage very well one-to-one with what hearing we have with our gadgets, with lip reading. We both sign. And we're both still us. And I think Emily calling her book Still Emily was actually spot on. I'm still Margaret. Whether that's good or bad, I leave others to say. So Emily and I are kindred spirits, and I'm proud to be her friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you very much. And we will go for that drink at some stage. We will do it.
Just one.
It's interesting you talked about music, because I'm just about to talk a bit about music now. And after I have done, I'd like to introduce another friend of mine, because I thought you might get fed up with me talking all the time. So I break it up a bit and have different voices. But before I introduce this friend, I'm just going to read a little bit more from the book about where she fits in. So my church is going to put on a musical. I'm going to be in it. I wasn't sure at first. It would be a big deal for me to get up on stage. I try not to let people see me, so going on stage doesn't really make sense. But I love musicals. In Starlight Express, the people in it were on roller skates. I saw that one a few years ago with my choir because we were singing songs from it, like light at the end of the tunnel. There's not a light at the end of my tunnel. It's just getting darker and darker. I'm still pretending deafness isn't coming, but I know it's waiting for me. Maybe that's why I want to sing it in church. I'm singing a duet with Kirsty called Engraved Upon My Palms, about how God will never forget us. I don't think he's forgotten about me. I just hope he's not forgotten that I'm not a deaf person, and I never will be. So that was before I did eventually lose my hearing, rehearsing to be in a musical. And at the time, I was given a CD, an album of the songs that I was due to sing, so I could learn them. Now, what I didn't know is that I would never be in that musical because I would lose my hearing before the performance, so I wasn't able to sing. And I also didn't know that years later, I would become friends with somebody who, as we talked, I realised she sang. And she was not only a singer, but she sang on the album I learned that song from. So I have actually heard Anne sing, even though I've never heard her voice really in conversation. And so now you are going to hear her sing, because Anne has agreed to sing the song that I should have sung in the musical but didn't.
Thank you, Emily. It's an absolute privilege to be taking part this evening, so thank you very much for inviting me. I have to say, I am absolutely delighted to have learned in our only probably 6 or 7 year friendship that actually Emily has heard my voice. I don't know, that just thrills me to know that she has heard my voice. I learned a lot about Emily because I was invited to pray on many occasions because some mutual friends knew of Emily's situation. So to finally get to meet her and to get to know her and to be inspired by her and to share her love of music and of rainbows and of park benches, but that's another story that you'll have to ask her about another time if you've not seen her Christmas Facebook post. You know, has just been a delight. I'm really, really thankful to God for you, Emily, and that we are friends. This is engraved upon my palms. Engraved upon my palms, yes, written on my hands, in letters spelled out large for all to see. Your name is marked forever, will never be removed. I'll not forget that you belong to me. As a mother tends her tiny child, I will care for you. You shall never be forsaken, never left alone. Right from the start I held you, I steadied your first steps. I led with cords of love that will not break. I took your hands and guided, I healed you with my touch. No, I'll be with you every step you take. As a mother tends her tiny child, I will care for you. You shall never be forsaken, never left alone. I'll enfold you in my arms of love. I will comfort and surround. I'll love you with a love far greater than you've ever known. Yes, I'll love you with a love far greater than you've ever
Thank you, Anne. Yeah, that's how we clap in sign language. So I'm clapping for you, Anne. That was really nice. Thank you so much for singing that for us. And I can see in the comments how much people have appreciated your singing. So thank you. Now we're going to move on to another of the children's questions. So Charlie, could we have Lydia's question?
What would you like to ask Auntie Emily?
The question I would like to ask Auntie Emily is, how did she become deaf?
Hi Lydia, thank you for that. Thank you for that question. Good question. And by the way, I like getting ice cream with you as well. So that's good. We'll do that as soon as we can, as soon as we're able to. It's a great question. How did I become deaf? So I'm going to read a little more from the book because that answers your question. So it's the doctor talking to me, and he says, your hearing or your life. Okay, so he actually said, either we operate and you lose your hearing, or we don't operate and you lose your life. But it means my hearing or my life. What sort of a choice is that? So the tumour will either kill me or kill my hearing. My life should have beware tumours kill sign over it. It didn't cross my mind to say no to the operation, and I'm going to get a letter with a date for the surgery. That means I will know the exact date when I will lose my hearing. So that's the answer to your question. I had to have an operation because I had what's called a tumour, but it's something in my head that shouldn't really have been there. And I had to have it removed. And when that happened, that's when I was deaf. I had one each side. But actually, Lydia's question links in with Micah's question. So could we have Micah's question?
Why can't you hear?
Why can't I hear? That's a great question, Micah. But before I answer it, I'd just like to say, I'm glad you think I'm funny. And can you make sure you tell your dad that you think I'm funny? Because it's really important that he knows that. I think he'll be really pleased. But yeah, that's a great question. Why can't I hear? Actually, it's a huge question. why. And I'm sure we all have why question. Why does this happen? Why does that happen? And if you expect me to have every answer to every why, I don't. But I do talk about asking why in the book. Because what I found is that sometimes we don't always need to know a definite answer, but we need to know it's okay to say, actually, why is this happening? What's going on? I'd just like to read a little bit more from the book, which perhaps talks a bit about Micah's question. So I was reading in my Bible the other day, and I read in Psalm 139, where it says, God made us and he formed us in our mother's body. I never really used to notice that verse, but now I'm thinking, God made me with tumours. I don't like Psalm 139 now. I love God and I know he loves me, but I can't think about him making me with tumours. It's too hard. And that's where I leave it. I don't start going into lots of debates, because sometimes we don't need all the debate. We just need space to be able to say, this is really hard. And so that's what I do in the book. So the answer to your question, Micah, about why can't I hear, is because I was born with tumours in my body, and I don't know why, but I was. So the next thing I'm going to do is introduce somebody else to give you another change of voice. But before I introduce him, I'm just going to hold up his book. Now, this book is a new release. His name is Bob Hartman. I haven't had a chance to read it because it literally only arrived just before now. So I really thought I'd be standing here going like that. But there is actually a book to hold up. This is Bob's book, and it is written for children. And basically, it's just, from what I could gather from reading the back, it looks as though it's really exciting, different ways of looking at Bible stories. So if you think you'd be interested in that, do have a look online. It's called Hanging Out with Jesus Again. And one of the comments on the back says that it's huge fun. So if you'd like some fun, and if you'd like a little Bible, this might be a good book for you to have a look at. But I'm just about to introduce Bob, who can't be here tonight, but he has sent in a video. And I remember once I signed books next to Bob at a conference. So I was signing and he was signing. And if you are fussy about the handwriting in the book, if you have a signed copy, I advise you to get that one, not that one, because his handwriting is loads better than mine. So you'll get a neater copy if you get his book. But seriously, it's lovely that Bob sent in this video now. So can we have the video?
Hello, Emily. Bob Hartman here. I just wanted to thank you for your wonderful diary. They sent me a copy of it to hold up, but I'm assuming you've already seen it. Anyway, I just want to thank you because it was such a great read. I really enjoyed it. What I appreciated most, I suppose, is the honesty with which it was written. Honesty with regard to your condition, but also with regard to your sort of struggles and questions with God. How you ask the questions and ask the hard questions, and also help the reader to kind of find the answers to them as well. I think the other thing I loved was not only the really moving side of it, and the difficulties that you went through and the way that you described them in really accessible terms, but also the humor that's sprinkled in throughout. So thank you for that, for your honesty, for your humor, for your grace. And I just hope that lots of people read it and lots of people are as inspired by it as I was. All the best for your launch. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, well, thank you very much, Bob. I know he's not here, but I will email him and say thank you. But I know time's ticking on. If anybody in the end needs to go, please don't feel embarrassed to sign out, because I realise I'm still talking. But can we have Abby's question now, please, Charlie?
I would ask, why can't you run?
Why can't I run? That's another good question. But Abby, I just wanted to say, you are right. I do like it when you push me in my wheelchair. But I need to tell you a bit of a secret. I don't always like going in my wheelchair. It's not my favourite place to be always, but I always like it when you push me. So you're right, I do like it when you push me in my wheelchair. But why can't I run? That's kind of linked to the wheelchair. And I'm going to read a bit more from the book, which answers your question. Okay, tomorrow I have the surgery on my back. I have prayed so much that I will be able to walk after the surgery. I walked into the hospital. I hope I walk out. I can remember waking up after surgery. I tried to move my legs, but they wouldn't move. The surgeon said sorry. I felt bad that he said sorry. I don't blame him that my legs are paralysed and don't move, but I didn't think it would actually happen. So my legs got damaged in surgery, and that's why I'm not able to run anymore. I am able to walk, as you know, Abby. I can walk short distances, but since that surgery, that's why I can't run. And I'm sure if we zoomed back to Margaret, which don't panic, Margaret, we won't. But if we did, she could explain the medical reason for the reason that I can't run. But basically, it's because I had surgery on my back. But I'm just thinking, everyone here might be thinking, gosh, this is a really depressing book. And I can see if you're thinking that. I can see why you're thinking that, because it's all about hard stuff, bad stuff happening. But I want to assure you the book is not all about bad stuff. Good things do happen. And some of you know that I have a sort of hashtag that I often use on social media, which is everyday rainbows. You can see I've put kind of rainbows up behind me for that reason. Everyday rainbows, basically trying to find something good in every day. And I do write about them and find them in the diary, and to encourage readers, children, that good things don't have to be massively huge. They can be chocolate, for example, but there's always something good to find. But sometimes it is hard to find. And I do write about that in the book. I wrote, for example, it's hard to find a rainbow today. I won't tell you why I wrote that. You can perhaps read the book yourself. But I thought it's hard to find a rainbow today, because sometimes life is just hard. But there is hope in the book. One of the themes in the book is about friendship. I write about friendship. Now, Still Emily readers will recognise the name Jodie. Jodie, my friend, appears quite a lot in the book, and she is in my diary too. And I wonder what you think the most common thing I get asked about this book is. And this is for people, I mean, all over, wherever they email from. I recently had an email from a girl in America who was actually wanting to write about this book for a school assignment. And when she'd asked me all the, the nitty-gritty questions, she said, before I go, I must ask you, how's Jodie? That's what she wanted to know, how's Jodie? And time again, people say to me, how's Jodie? How's Jodie? So I'm just going to read a little bit from the book about Jodie. This is going way, way back when I was first diagnosed. So remember, I could still hear at that point. It says, I got a surprise parcel today. It's from my friends. They've recorded music and messages for me to listen to. Jodie said, I know we won't always be together, but we will always be close. I hope she's right. And you know what? She was right, because that was many years ago. and she was right. Jodie has pushed me in a wheelchair down to the physiotherapy gym. Jodie has sat in a cinema with me. Jodie has sat with me in accident and emergency when I very foolishly thought I could ice skate and fell over, bashed my head, ended up in hospital. The story's in the book. But Jodie has done all these things. In the book is the time when she and I had friends. We do have arguments, so that's in the book as well. But I'm really pleased that Jodie is here tonight. So in a minute, you'll actually see the Jodie that so many of you asked me about. So can we highlight Jodie? There's Jodie. So say hi to Jodie, everyone. Actually, I can say hi to Jodie because I've not seen you for ages. So, but thank you for zooming in. So this is Jodie, and this is she's one of the main reasons why friendship is such a key theme in this book, and hopefully it will encourage other children that they can be a good friend. Maybe I should start a hashtag, be a Jodie. But really, Jodie is a wonderful friend, so thank you. I could not ask for someone better.
Oh, thank you.
So now I think we're going to have Josiah's question. Can we have Josiah's question, Charlie?
How do you write books?
So Josiah's question, how do you write books? But first of all, hi Josiah. You know how you said before, you can always get me to read books. That's because I really like reading books with you too. You don't have to persuade me, it's one of my favourite things to do. But how do you write books? That is a $1 million question. In fact, I think we could have asked Bob to answer that question for us. He knows more than me about writing books. But if you think when you're at your house and you want to go to the park, you're not going to be able to walk to the park if you don't take the first step, are you? It's a bit like that with writing books. If you want to write a book, you're not going to be able to write that book if you don't write the first word. And that's how to write it. Start writing and see where it takes you. Start with that first word and then see where it goes. But as I said before, there is a big team involved in my books. I often think it should not really be only my name on the cover. I'm just going to read a little bit, tiny bit from the book about writing. People keep saying I should write a book about my story. They've been saying that since I was first ill. I said no then, and I've said no every time ever since. I'm not writing a book. I love books, but I read them. I don't write them. So yet again, you've probably noticed a bit of a theme with me. I'm very often wrong. And I was wrong here, wasn't I? Saying I'm never writing a book, because obviously it did happen. This is the book. Now, I was told that it's a good idea to toast the book. I didn't know that, but I was told to toast the book. So some of you, if you got an email, may have brought chocolate buttons with you. So if you have got chocolate buttons, grab hold of them, please. If you haven't, grab them. Imagine they're in your hand. But I do apologise to anybody who has given up chocolate for Lent. I honestly didn't think about that when I thought I'd that holding chocolate right in front of your eyes. So sorry about that. I hope I'm not tempting you too much. But I've decided to toast the book with chocolate buttons. Chocolate buttons are mentioned in the book, as you will find out if you read it. But I'm not entirely sure how to toast a book, I have to say. So here's to the book and all who read her. So cheers everyone, and thank you for being in the sort of book team and my team. Now, I think as we eat our chocolate buttons, Donna is going to lead us in a bit of a question and answer.
Thank you, Emily, and a massive thanks. It's just listening and hearing and being able to see, isn't it, in terms of what and how you've brought in terms of my diary. Anne mentioned about park benches earlier. I definitely know what she means there. I've seen the photos, but a couple of questions, and it's been wonderful that the children have been able to participate and ask some questions. And as we look in terms of, you shared about why you wrote this book, how do you think in terms of Sunday school leaders, teachers can use this book?
So I was just waiting to read the captions so
fine.
I could get the question. Well, possibly it could be used in any group with children, so whether it's a church group or in school or whatever, but possibly to look at some of the questions that are in the back of the book, things about just debating ethics like hearing or face, and there are other questions in the back of the book just to get children thinking about different issues, but also the issue of disability. That is one that's very current today, isn't it? Very topical. And still, I have to say, and I feel I can say this because I am disabled myself, often quite a scary thing for people to come across. People don't necessarily encounter it in an average sort of way, and when they do, it's alarming. So perhaps just to encourage to learn about disability, learn about different things. So Margaret talked earlier about deaf communication. That's mentioned in the book as well. So this kind of thing will be able to hopefully encourage children just in how to, I suppose, deal with people that they meet.
Fantastic. And if you could say something to your teenage self, what would it be?
Well, I think one thing might have been, don't go on the ill-fated ice skating trip with Jodie where you're going to hit your head and end up in accident in emergency. I might have said that to myself, but seriously, I think I might say, maybe enjoy the moment. So for example, I loved music. As Margaret said earlier, I really did enjoy music, but I took it quite for granted. So I would sit at the piano or play my flute or sing, and almost it was so much part of just what I automatically did that perhaps sometimes I didn't just take time to stop and enjoy it. And hopefully what most people enjoy won't be suddenly snatched away, but we do never know. So probably enjoy the moment when you can.
Excellent. And what are you working on next, Emily?
Well, you mentioned earlier that I've got a book coming out next month. It's a completely different book. It's a sort of devotional Bible book. So I'm not actually working on it now because the work has been done on that one. But what I'm working on next, I don't know. I guess I'll have to ask you, Donna, or Authentic, or, see what's next. But we will talk about it and we'll see what I can write next, because I hope I will be able to write more.
We look forward to that, Emily. We know in terms of just being able to pray and discern in terms of what God is placing on your heart for future books, because God has given you such a wonderful gifted talent, and your way to communicate that is really encouraging. I'm going to hand back to you and everything, because we've got another question, haven't we, coming through from the video that Charlie's going to play.
I've read it myself, actually. What was the musical? Actually, it was Anne who sang, not Margaret, but well done for remembering the names of my friends. It doesn't matter that you got them mixed up. But yes, it was Anne who sang. The name of the musical is Snakes and Ladders. Snakes and Ladders by Roger Jones. Now, Roger would have liked to be here tonight, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. But he's delighted that Anne sang his song for you tonight. So yes, Snakes and Ladders by Roger Jones.
Thanks.
If I could ask Auntie Emily any question, I'd ask her when I could see her next.
Oh, well, yeah, Amaya, I think that's a question a lot of us are asking about our friends and family. But do you know what? I wish I could answer you by saying, I will see you tomorrow. One more sleep, and then I'll see you. But I can't do that because you're in Albania, I'm in lockdown in the UK, and who knows? But all I can say in answer to your question is as soon as we can, we'll arrange it. I'll get in touch with Moni and we will arrange that I can see you as soon as I can. But just widening out your question, if anybody here would like to see me at an event or, you know, online or maybe in person, that time is coming closer, please do get in touch with me. I'm always happy to come and talk about disability or faith or communication, or get in touch and we can talk about that. But yes, time is ticking on. So really, I'd just like to say thank you for coming. Thank you so much. I mentioned about everyday rainbows before, and just a line from the book says, maybe I can find rainbows in the rain. I'm going to look for something good every day. Now, I don't have to look very hard today at all, because there's so much good that's happened today. It's just so lovely to see you all here with me. And thank you for coming. You are all everyday rainbows. So thank you. Just before we finish, if you remember back at the beginning, I introduced you to Sheila, who edits my books. Now, Sheila has actually edited every single one. I think I said that. So we've worked quite closely together. And as we've worked together, we've become friends, good friends. So what I thought is really nice to be able to ask somebody who's an editor and also a friend to just close our time together this evening with a prayer. So thank you, Sheila.
Heavenly Father, we just praise and thank you, and we give you glory for all that you are and all that you do, and that the way you use Emily. Lord, we praise you and thank you for this book, and we thank you for every hand that it goes into, every heart that reads it, and we ask you that you would use it for your glory. Lord, we thank you for the person that Emily is, and all the lives that she touches, and the rainbows that she actually points people to, as they can encounter you through her communication, her writing, and the person she is. Lord, we give you glory and we thank and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Well, thank you, Sheila, and thank you everyone for coming. Those who joined in, those who didn't. Just the only thing is, I really wish I could make you all a cup of tea now, but I can't. I can't give you a hug either, unfortunately. But no, thank you so much for coming. And if you have any questions or anything you'd like to ask me that you think of later, do feel free to email me. I think you've probably all got my email address or some sort of contact details. So yeah, and thank you. Thank you all for being part of my team. Thank you.
Massive well done, Emily, and we do give a special thanks to everybody that's come, and it's really, really encouraging to see so many people attending and coming across the globe, and that is a testimony to the friendship and the support that we have for you, Emily. Emily, I said that you are an inspiration, and from what we've heard this evening, that's so true. You're an encourager, a determined child of God, and you don't give up. You show perseverance and endurance and love and care for others. And one scripture that really comes to mind is, but that's not all. Even in times of trouble, we have joyful confidence, knowing that our pressures will develop in patience endurance, and patience endurance will refine our character, and proven character leads us back to hope. And this hope is not disappointing fantasy, because we now experience the endless love of God cascading into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who lives in us. And that's from Romans 5:3-5. So Emily, I give thanks to God for you, and for everyone joining us this evening. It's been wonderful to see familiar faces, and for all of those behind the scenes. And Emily will hang around and that for a little while as we come to close this evening, in case you want to be able to chat to her. But on behalf of us all, thank you for coming, and stay safe, and God bless you.